Comedy Simp, the podcast you can't resist. Stephen Michael James, the host you won't wanna miss. From Seattle to the world, his humor will persist. Join the fun, get ready to enlist. Spitting fire on the mic.
Rolling. All right, go ahead and say something there.
Hello, testing. 1, 2, 3, testing.
All right.
We on?
All right, we're on. You could face me. We're good. You don't have to face the camera.
cool.
You can kind of.
All right, yeah.
You can kind of do a half and a half.
Half
thing.
and half.
So,
All right, so, yeah.
guys, this is Comedy Simp, the podcast you can't resist. Stephen Michael James. I keep forgetting to do this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'm sitting here with Lucas McDermott.
Yeah, that's me.
Yes.
Yeah, how's it going?
I got it correct. All right. Well, this is interesting, dude, and I'll tell you why. Most of the time when people are on the podcast, I've met them before or I know them. So this is the first time I'm meeting you. So nice to meet you.
It's good to be at the Whiskey Mile.
Yeah, the Whiskey Mile. You ever been here before?
Nah, never been here before.
Well, you're in for a treat. You're in for all sorts of fun. So even though I don't know you, I do know your name. I've seen your name around a little bit, and you're kind of here in the comedy scene. So tell the people out there kind of like
What's going on?
Yeah, where you come from.
Well,
and all that.
I actually was born in Seattle.
Okay.
But I moved to Florida when I was very, very young. I started the comedy.
Okay, what kind of Florida? You know, it's a big state. You know, it's
Rural Florida.
Rural,
like Pasco area.
the Pasco area of Florida. I'm from
Yeah.
California, so
Okay,
it's
so
kind of
like,
hard for me to.
So, just rural, just middle of nowhere type of just.
the swamplands.
Not the
and-
swampland.
no,
Florida
just-
itself is a swamp.
Yeah.
It's a swampland created by people of ill character.
Yeah. Some interesting people. All that Florida man. I mean, it's a thing. So.
It's a man.
All
So-
right. So what years are we talking about? When was this?
So I started.
When were you born?
Oh, I was born in 1991.
91.
91.
Nice. Good year.
Good year.
Nirvana. The year punk broke. We're here near Seattle. I mean, when punk broke, Lucas broke out of his mom's womb. He arrived here into the scene, and he's here telling you the story. So 91, you were born here. How come why did you guys move?
Family moved around a lot.
Yeah.
Don't know why.
Yeah.
But they decided to settle down in the swamplands of Florida.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was roughly 14 or so when I decided I wanted to become a stand-up comic full time.
And this is in Florida. What's
This is
kind
in
of the
Florida.
nearest big city? So people.
Tampa.
Tampa.
Tampa,
okay.
Florida.
Tampa. You know what I hear? I hear that Tampa is actually a really great place for comedy. That they have a really good club called Side Splitters.
Yes.
Yes.
Side Splitters is pretty dope. Shout out to Side Splitters.
Shout out to Side Splitters.
I
Yes.
also, it's called the Funny Bone now. It used to be called the Tampa Improv in Ybor City. So that's where I started out. I used to do the open mics there.
All right. So, before you started comedy? I mean, like, kind of like,
What was
bring
I
us
doing?
up. Like, who like, you know, brothers and sisters.
Oh,
Are you good with
right.
your family?
So I have a couple of siblings. I have 2 sisters, one younger brother.
So you're kind of in the middle.
I'm totally in the middle.
Okay,
yeah.
you're in the middle. And then how about like growing up? What was that like? You
Oh,
know?
growing up, I was a latchkey kid, right? So I was
Okay.
I was kind of kept to myself. Parents are
well,
like,
and the kids, all the kids are watching each other, right? You know, yeah.
basically, yeah.
Yeah.
So you just kind of just had to fend for yourself.
So what would be a typical night like when were both parents around?
No,
okay.
I just had one at a time.
So when the parent is out at work, what are the kids doing at home?
Let's see, man. Well, I was making food for them. I was kind of watching them and shit. Just kind of taking over them. Just kind of doing parenting stuff, all besides just loving them unconditionally.
Well, that's really nice because what I was doing was wrestling both of my sisters.
Oh, I used to wrestle my little brother all the time. I used to put him in the walls of Jericho.
Yeah, there you
Every
go.
single time I would watch Raw, I would just get so amped. I'm like, hey, Zach, come here for a second. He
Yeah.
goes, no, I don't want to. I'm like, no, it's fine this time. It's fine this time.
Yeah.
Just put it into an arm bar, like do the alphabet backwards, just crazy incoherent shit.
And I didn't have little brothers growing up. I actually do have brothers, but that's a whole nother story. But I had the two sisters. So
Little brothers are the best
yeah.
pals ever. The best punching bag.
Wrestling your sisters is not a nice thing. You
No.
know? Growing up and looking back on it, I'm like, I wasn't a really nice guy, Steven, you know, but I had the whole setup. I had some milk crates. I built like a staircase so I can walk up to my mattress, and we had to build
entrance
rings
ramp
and stuff.
I feel like as kids, wrestler kids also need little wrestling managers to go with them too. You
Yeah.
know, they need like every little Brock Lesnar kid needs a little Paul Heyman kid,
Yeah.
a little chubby New Yorker to do the mouthpiece stuff. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
would-
Especially the quiet ones.
the
you know?
quasi quiet one, yeah.
Yeah, the quiet ones need a manager. So in this time, I mean, you know, you said when you were you got into you wanted to do comedy when you were older in your teens
Yeah, yeah.
and stuff. So what about when you were a kid? What was the kind of stuff you liked? Was it like sports or
Oh
music?
no, it
or-
wasn't. It wasn't. I like to watch sports, and I never really played any instruments besides band as a kid. My favorite
Yeah.
thing to do was write.
Okay,
I loved
so
writing.
So that's
Writing.
what got you into writing comedy. So
Yeah.
what were you writing originally?
Oh, horror.
Okay.
So I was writing horror scripts as a kid, and then my taste gotten into more humor,
Okay.
and then I started writing more humorous things instead.
What was the scary stuff you found scary when you were young? Like movies. and
Shit! What I found dangerous as a kid, scary as a kid, was the dangers of Catholicism.
I was too young to learn about that. Till I was, yeah.
It's if you're happy and you know it, that's a sin. That is
Yeah.
basically. So everything when I was growing up, I thought literally everything I did was wrong, and like there's.
So you were Catholic?
I was
You were
Catholic, yeah.
Okay,
It
interesting.
sucked.
Yeah. So I was not religious at all. So like when I hear this kind of stuff, it's just so foreign to me.
You're missing out. So basically, imagine growing up believing everything you did was wrong, and you had to pay like $5 every Sunday to try to redo it.
How were you guys? I mean, were you guys like what kind of Catholic were you? Were you like really deep into it? Did you do like confessions or
We were.
did you do the communion wafers? And
The communion wafers I did confession when I needed to, but it was one of those we're Catholic when we need to kind of.
Yes.
So it's like Easter, Christmas. That's about it. Besides
Yeah.
that, though, we kind of just had God when we needed it.
Yeah, that's a crazy religion. You know, I've seen a lot of historical kind of shows about it.
Religion in general is crazy
Yeah.
from the outside. Any religion is just based on faith, and you can't just come up to someone and be like, "Hey, man, you gotta believe this sick shit about this carpenter who came back to life." It's like, what are you talking about?
But I gotta say, man, I mean, like the Catholic stuff is so mysterious, you know, with the costumes and the pageantry, and they got the smoke coming out of the stuff, and you know, with the Pope and all that. I mean, like Vatican City, like this. It's so, you know, all this stuff. It's just such a weird.
I like the churches where they hold snakes because
Yeah.
that's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Even if you're not into religion.
So is
Watching
that-
a guy speak in tongues as he holds a snake.
Is that kind of like one of those southern, like Florida, like those?
No, they don't have them
You
in
know,
Florida.
those
They have them like
tent
rural
revivals,
Tent
yeah.
revivals.
Yeah, there
no
we go.
tent revivals in Florida. Tent revivals you're only going to see in like the real deep part of the South where there's no real like law.
Did you go out there when you were a kid?
Once
Did
or
you-
twice I
Yeah.
saw them, and they were
Yeah.
kind of fun to watch because they're like those street performers you see that are painted silver and do the robot in Capitol Hill.
oh, yeah.
You don't want to interact with them.
or
You just
in-
want to watch them work.
In Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco, there's a gold one and a silver one. Yeah. They take turns.
They take turns.
Yeah. They're like, okay, I'm going to be gold today. Oh. Yeah.
I like to think they're roommates on the
Yeah.
off time.
Yeah.
On the off season.
Well, maybe they're just one person
They're
who
one
shares
person.
the same apartment, and they split it, so
split
they
it
think
gold
that they're
and silver.
renting to one guy. I don't know. It's very possible. So,
Very possible.
So let's talk about the comedy thing, because it's very cool that you actually got to start it in clubs. Because for me, you know, a lot of people know watching this that I started in a bar in Everett, and you know, I did a couple clubs here or there, but what's the scene like out in there in Florida, and especially compared to here?
Scene out there. So the scene, it's tighter. There is not a lot of clubs, not a lot of variety. There used to be only one club, and it was Tampa Improv.
Yeah.
And it was, but then it breached out to Side Splitters, and you have Snappers, and you have several other dozen, like a dozen or so really good clubs. But there's not a lot of room for everyone, so they have to find. It's only a finite amount of space. So it's really a lot of clawing and everything. Whereas Washington itself. I'm not saying it's easier to do comedy here, but there is more room. There is
more opportunities.
If you don't get booked here, you can get booked somewhere else. Whereas over there, it's you got to just harp the same place over and over again.
So we talked a little bit about wrestling. Did you watch wrestling growing up?
Yes.
I've always heard that Tampa was kind of a hotbed for pro wrestlers. Did you ever? Did you know anything about that? Did you ever see any wrestlers? Hear about any stories?
It's because Tampa or just Florida in general has a lot of wrestling schools.
Yeah. Well, a lot of old people go down there to retire.
Yeah, a lot of retirees.
Wrestlers, start a school. Why not?
And also, it's because
I think there's a training center down there too for like the WWE. Yeah.
It's also Nick Khan from the WWE also posted up several wrestling schools there, and also several headquarters there too. So it's just easier and makes sense for people to just, if they're already in Florida, might as well just train there and have other people train there.
Yeah.
Jay Lethal, I met him a couple times. He ran a wrestling school called Big Top Wrestling in Flea Market in Tampa.
That guy used to do the best Macho Man impression. Oh my God! Like now we're cooking, right? That was back in the TNA day. I haven't watched wrestling in a long time. You know Nick Cody, I'm sure, right? Yeah. Me and him went to
Nick
WWE.
Cody and I will be working at the April 12th showcase.
Yeah, that'll be cool, man.
Peace of Mind Brewery.
But yeah, me and Nick, we kind of talk a little bit about wrestling. I haven't watched it like currently, but yeah, up in say until about a little over 10 years ago, I watched it a lot. So I so much history there, man, of all the different eras and the different federations and the underground stuff. And it's cool to hear that, like like the fact that you bring up Jay Lethal, and I think just all this stuff pops in my head, like the TNA, because that was like during the time where I was like, hey, maybe wrestling's going to be big again. Like when I was a kid, like there's another company.
There's always been like a resurgence up and down. There's always been an up and down resurgence.
It's kind of like comedy. It goes popular, and then it's not popular.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like a couple years ago, everyone wanted to become a comic. One guy pulls his penis out, and then suddenly stand-up comedy is no longer the fun thing to do. Louis.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he was talking about me.
No. Whoa.
I did see a guy pull his balls out, but that's for another time. That's for the Patreon. That was on stage. Can't tell you where, but all right, man. So
I got a good stage story. I'm hosting at the Tampa Improv, right? And when you host, I'm so burnt out because it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm still getting these like the 40th micer up here,
Yeah.
And this lanky guy named Eugene comes up on stage, and he goes, "Hey, everyone, who wants to hear my Kramer impression?" And says the N-word like 6 times, and it says, "Thank you, everyone, good night," and just leaves. And so they're just like gassed in the audience. I don't know what to say, but I'm so burnt out from work and life. I just go, folks, don't forget, we still have drink specials, 2 PBRs for $3. Give it up for your next topic.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, I just imagine the N-word is a lot more popular in Florida than it is here.
It's a lot more. It's used a lot more in Florida.
Maybe not necessarily in a positive way.
In Seattle, the N-word's never used in a positive way in Florida. I never.
Yeah.
A big part of the reason why Florida's scene is so small is because Robert DeSantis, does not like any type of culture.
Yeah.
So he just shuts down the Fringe. I was in the Fringe Festival 2 years ago.
Oh, nice.
At Florida, and Ron DeSantis called it a sex festival, which I was thinking, if it's a sex festival, how come we didn't sell that many tickets?
Yeah.
A sex festival would sell so many tickets.
Yeah. Especially all those rich guys from overseas, the princes, the Saudi princes, living in Florida, driving the Lamborghinis in Miami, looking for the next Kardashian.
Isn't that the American dream?
Yes.
Just embed a Kardashian.
Well, you only have to pay $5 million to get a green card now, which is,
I was thinking that there's an app now you can self-deport, and I was thinking, what if I get fucked up and I don't mess up apps. I'm trying to order a pizza, and I go like, oh crap, I'm not Venezuelan. No, I didn't mean that.
You're like, oh shit, I just shipped myself to Italy, and it's like, well, hey, I get 12 weeks of paid vacation a year. Damn, that sucks. You know.
Yeah.
So when you start getting into comedy, kind of like, I always ask people like, what's the thing that kind of pushes you forward? Is there a specific comic you like?
The drive.
Somebody you know?
The drive that pushes me forward is
when you start.
Oh,
Like
when I started.
When you first started. Get you that first time on stage.
Oh, yeah. So,
And how old were you?
righteous. So I was 14 when I wanted to become a comic full time. When I was in middle school, I developed an insomnia, like the worst insomnia, right? So
Well, all that humidity, man. I mean, Jesus, I wouldn't be able to sleep either. I've never experienced. No, like, dude, I've been pretty much in the West Coast most of my life, so I've never experienced like
it's
humidity. Like
you get used to it, but you can't really get. Do you ever get used to anything after a while?
Yeah.
So I developed insomnia. So at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, I wouldn't sleep. So I would stay up watching like HBO and Showtime, and there would be like, I think the showcase that got me the most, and that was Dave Chappelle's "Killing Them Softly"
Yeah.
in DC. And I used to watch that like every other night on like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. As
So
a kid.
was that on HBO or was that kind of like a local?
It was on HBO.
Okay.
It was on Comedy Central too, but the uncensored shit was on HBO.
Yeah.
And you have all these other. It would just be a world of these other comics. So it'd be like, I would never hear. I saw Robin Williams growing up. I never saw him do dirty material before. So
Yeah.
it'd be like this entire new world. And then I remember one peculiar day. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I haven't slept. I'm waiting. I got an hour before I got to go to walk this high school. That's life, you know.
Yeah.
And there's this comic I saw on like, it was like Comedy Central presents so and so. It was back when road comics would just do like 20-minute Comedy Central specials.
Yeah,
And
no,
then-
they were awesome. There's
were.
so many of those.
But this guy though, I don't remember his name, but he just sucked. I remember he just sucked the air out of the room, and even the crowd was kind of like, meh. So I was like, man, this guy sucks. I could do a better job than that. And that little light bulb went off. Was like, and I didn't want to have a normal career or a normal sit down job anyway. I didn't want to be like others, and I knew I was funny, so that was how it started.
You know, I don't know if it's a middle child thing or what, because I'm a middle child too, and it's like, yeah, I had the same thing. I mean, I was in a band for a long time. I played music, and I've always done like a artistic thing, you know, whether it be drawing or making T-shirts or video editing, vlogs, whatever. And then, you know, the comedy thing, it was something I loved when I was a kid, but I didn't really get into it until I was like as a possibility until I was way older, you know. And I think part of it to me was like, I love music, right? I mean, I love bands, but I don't like seeing my favorite bands get old and up there, and then also knowing that they're unhappy playing the same songs over and over again. Even though, like, when you go to the show, everybody's having a great time, but they're just inside, they hate it. They're like,
Yeah, I get that.
I want to play my new stuff. And, like, comics, it's actually okay for them to get older. There's a lot of these old guys that are, like, in their late 60s, still selling out full clubs, you know, and having relevant things to say. And then the other thing, too, is you're constantly having to do new material, you know, like, and maybe that's why a lot of comics have ADHD, because we get bored, you know, like.
Well, it's because we do new material, because there's two forms of material, I think, that comes from the comedians. It comes from either personal experiences or the zeitgeist, the pop culture.
Yeah.
And with the zeitgeist, it's hard to do material on that because you don't want to end up doing hokey, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel stuff that just is watered down any idiot could do.
Yeah.
But also you don't want to be obnoxious, and you don't want to be like so Bill Hicks that you're just so that you call yourself a satirist instead of comic. So the biggest thing is zeitgeist jokes fly like a fart in the wind. Something that might be funny a day is not going to be funny tomorrow.
Oh man,
there was so many jokes where I was like, "That's gold. That's gonna be great." And then 2 years ago, no one's talking about it. I go, "Well, that's a waste of an hour."
You'll see, you know, as you start to see you'll see, I mean, sure, we'll be doing shows and stuff together, you know, as time goes on. And if you ever see my stuff, like, you'll see that, like, I do some of that pop culture type stuff, but I'm slowly trying to move out of that. And because I feel that too. Like I had some really great jokes that work for about 3 months. And then after that, people are like, they don't care about them. They don't. It sounds weird to even talk about them. They feel
It's
old,
not
like,
a memorable
they feel
joke
dated.
because it feels like you don't want to do the same jokes that like Ellen does, where it's just like it's in front of a large crowd that just kind of panders.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you an example of a joke I saw. Of a comedian I saw recently. I'm not gonna give names, of course, but it was
Adam Tiller.
Adam Tiller.
Who's filming
He's
me?
probably watching this like, you motherfucker.
He would never watch this. No, but I love Adam.
I was thinking about. I saw a comic and he was just doing Trump jokes. Nothing wrong with politician jokes, but they were just so hokey. But the crowd ate it up. He was just like, I never saw someone biff it that fast since my cousin's wedding. And they were like, ah! And they were like, it's funny, I do have a cousin who went to It's just like, yeah, that's funny, but doesn't mean anything. It's memorable, though.
Yeah.
Like, good humor comes from shit that is personal enough that you can relate to, but not personal enough that it doesn't hit you too deep. Like, that's why a lot of white America loved Eddie Murphy. Because his comic, his life and stuff was unrelatable.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, that's funny because that would never happen to me, but I can still see
Well, and he
myself
was
in
just
stuff.
so good at painting a picture, too.
He was.
You know,
gotta paint a picture of the stand-up comic. Also, another thing you gotta do as a stand-up comic that I see comics in today's scene do that I call them out on is I call it keeping the crowd hostage with your time.
Yeah. Oh.
And there's
Absolutely.
comics in today's scene, I've seen it, that are straight up will just do a crappy set. And instead of just, I've bombed so many times in my career, like everyone else, but you got to know when your set's bad and you just cut it out.
Well, let me tell you, man, you've been doing this a long time, sounds like.
11
right?
years.
11 years.
11 years.
I've been doing this a little over 2. And so I'm sure whatever story I tell you, you're probably going to have one that's 10 times worse.
Well, there's no worse or
but
bad
I will tell
in the
you this.
industry.
There is nothing that annoys me more than showing up to a random mic at 7:30 when they open up, and I don't get picked until 9:40, and I have to sit through 30 comics, and 15 of them don't have anything, or they're not even trying, and it's just like, guys.
Do you like it? Do you like the bucket system? For
No,
mics?
no.
Like the bucket system.
Well, this one that I'm talking about in particular is called a bucket night, but it's not random. It's basically the guy. I mean, it's semi-random, but like if you attend that club very often,
Which club? And then which club would this be for the?
This would
the
be
bucket mic?
This would be club comedy. I'm
Okay.
fine telling it. It's like
Okay.
it's not like I get booked there, although I would be happy to.
Okay, and this is Rich. This is one, and this is Club Comedy Seattle, or
Yeah.
this is okay.
So yeah, it just depends. Like sometimes I'll get a host that puts me right in the middle of the list. Seems random, and then there's other times where there's a specific host where I'm always at the end, and I'm like, doesn't seem very random. I don't know.
Stand-up comedians are the worst audience members for other stand-up comedians in the mic, not because of a level of shrewdness or arrogance. It's because we're not thinking, oh, it's a funny joke. We're thinking of your set.
Yeah.
You're just going over your phone. You're going over your list over and over again because you don't have time to sit down. And after your bit, you have time to sit down and relax and joke. That's why I always like to sit down and watch some other comics perform. But sometimes you're just so focused, it's just not a good room. But open mics are not supposed to be for the audience. If you're expecting an audience at every open mic,
well, yeah, and I'm, man, as a new guy, new comic, that's what I'm starting to learn. I mean, I've done this open mic here for like a year, almost like every week for a year straight, and I had a couple weeks there where I got nothing, no laughs at all, and it really messed with me. And then I was like, it's
the game.
Yeah, it's just what it is.
The game is the game. Comedians need to realize that we don't bring anything to audience members that they don't already have. They could listen to music at home. They could listen to comedy. They come to a show to be entertained. If you're boring them out their room, you can't just then go, well, how come we can't fill a room?
Yeah.
I guess why that's why I take showcases and everything so seriously, because it's not about just my comedy. It's about everyone's comedy and the fact we're doing a service for these people. Mm-hmm. That's like if someone was paid to play the trumpet and then was just going willy-nilly on the keys.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just trying some new stuff out. Well, that's fine, but you're not here to try new stuff out.
Yeah.
You're here to entertain this lovely family from Minnesota that's here.
Yeah, well, especially if they paid. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
So were you doing comedy in Florida and then you came here?
Yes.
Or, okay, so how long were you out there?
I was out there for 9 years, and then I did everything I wanted to.
And so,
And then
before moving out here? What were some of the big things you did? The accomplishments? Did you meet anybody big ever come out of Tampa? I don't even know.
I mean, big is a relative word. I do have lots of friends.
Well-known, not big.
I mean, also well-known is also a relative word. A lot of comics I worked with as open micers are now road comics now.
Yeah.
Stephen Henry, Rio Paris, John Jacobs from MTV.
Yeah, I'm gonna put all these guys' names.
Cam
on the
Bertrand,
screen.
just nice people, great people I worked with on showcases that and eventually we end up getting agents and or booking people or such and such. But you don't really know who's big until it's too late. Until like they're so big where it's like that guy's doing a special and you go, well, he worked out that dime bar over at 5th Street and it's so big, you're like, no, he didn't. And that guy, it's hard to imagine big comics working in small rooms. But it happened. It's always done. It's always been done. Richard Pryor has probably worked at a dry cleaner once or twice too, performing. And for new comics, they can't expect big things right away.
Yeah.
But also, you can't think that this shit's supposed to make sense. We do comedy for the sake of making people laughter. Money seconds. If we wanted to get into money, we would get into, I don't know,
software development, engineering,
music, motivational speaking.
Yeah.
You can make a shit ton of motivational speaking by just bullshitting with just a smile on your face.
That's what this podcast is, actually. it's we're going to have it translated into Hmong, and then hopefully those guys will be learning from the Comedy Simp on how to live a better, I don't know. The Americans have no talk right now to say that we're living better than anybody. I mean,
but no,
it's a good country. But
I had some really good. No, I had some really good friends out of Florida. Corey Hilliard's another up and comer.
Yeah.
Florida is a good spot.
I'm so glad you said names that I don't know, because then we can look them up. Because he's not like, oh yeah.
If I said names for people in Washington, like, oh yeah, who's that guy? Well, you're gonna see him like literally 5 minutes from now.
Yeah.
But, it's good to see people that And also, another reason why I got out of Florida was it's hard to be a road comic out of Florida.
Because of how big it is, right?
Travel-wise, it takes you 8 hours to get out of the state.
Have you ever been to California?
No.
So California, I lived in Sacramento.
Okay.
It would take 8 hours to get to L.A., and if I wanted to get down to San Diego, it would probably take 11 hours. So that's how big California is.
That is one of the reasons why I live in Seattle, is because I moved out of Florida because I did everything in Florida I needed to.
What year was this?
Oh, 2024.
Okay, so
relatively new.
Did you ever meet a guy in Tampa named Ryan Joseph?
Maybe.
Because there's this guy.
Does he have glasses?
No, he's a white guy.
White people can have glasses too.
Yeah. No, he was on Kill Tony like in 2020, and then he was out in Austin, and he moved to Tampa for a few years, and then he just moved back. So
No, but don't catch your name.
But yeah, no, I talked to him a little bit, so I was just wondering because that's kind of Tampa, but
no.
Anyways, 2024.
2024.
You left Florida.
Left Florida.
What was COVID like during 2020 for you?
So for me,
because everybody was going there to party,
So the gig economy crashed, right? We called it the gig plague.
Yeah.
Mics closed, showcases closed. Basically, everything kind of shut down, and the board kind of reset. Mm-hmm. So pre-COVID, the way it would be you would bark outside of comedy clubs. You would try if you got people to sell 6 tickets, that means you're enough to go on and do on the main stage for 5 minutes or whatever. You know, it was a whole game of impersonal marketing. Then COVID happened, and then we had like 2 years of just online social media that we had to build on that we didn't have to build on before. But now the game has changed, so now it's, well, how many followers do you have in between of, oh, he's just funny through talent.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't even know what's going on now because of all the, you know, everybody that ever made something on the internet, whether it was YouTube, they became a YouTuber or an Instagram influencer or whatever. Once they got caught on, they changed the algorithm, so it made it a lot harder for you to become that. So it's like right now, you know, like I get a couple hundred.
It's a club, and you're not. It's a club, and you're not invited.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in this circle of maybe a few hundred people that see my stuff, and then there's other people that are in circles of 10,000 people that, you know, and it's like it's so hard to get to that other level because you gotta play, you gotta do whatever the social media wants you to do.
Out of that 10,000 people, though, only like 5 or 6 of those actually are movers and shakers.
Yeah, absolutely.
The rest are just fans.
Yeah.
You can have. It's cool to have. You can have a bajillion followers. It doesn't matter. It just matters if you're funny or not.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
the
true.
universal truth. If you are funny or if you're not funny. If you're an entertainer or if you're not an entertainer. The guy who falls down with his pants falls down or whatever is just as much as right as to go on the stage as anyone else because he draws a crowd.
Yeah.
I know people get discouraged. A lot of newer comics get discouraged because though their videos aren't being seen, or like, oh, how come so-and-so has 1 million followers, I only have like 50. Well, so-and-so also reposts videos of a shack being built or whatever, like by scratch. So it's stuff that people want to see.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad if your shit isn't being seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I think for me, I don't even care about it. It's just trying to make this perception. So maybe a club would be like, okay, I'll give that guy a shot. You know, maybe I'll actually watch his video.
We want to be loved. We want to, we just,
yeah.
It is.
Oh, I talked about this a lot, man. Yeah. It
Comics, the comedian field has a lot of gatekeepers in it. Some are good gatekeepers that prevent jackasses from ruining mics and showcases and then bring in legitimate competition. Other gatekeepers, well, I won't say names, but
Adam Tiller.
Adam Tiller. Well, no, one person, I won't say her name, but this kind of irked me. She posted on a comedy page saying, hey, I'm looking for comics. Okay. So I send her my information. Nothing big, nothing whatever. And then a couple weeks later, I don't hear anything. So I do the respondatory, hi, did you get my message? I'm from so-and-so. And this person, who I won't say names, said that, oh, we got it. Our mic is full. Mind you, is for a mic. Come back at us at a year.
A year for an open mic.
Now imagine imagine you have some pull in Tacoma, and you try to pull this, right?
Yeah.
Now this gatekeeping doesn't help anybody.
No.
I could be the shittiest Waka Waka comic. It doesn't matter. You give him a chance.
Yeah.
How are you gonna have him grow on stage if? Like when I first started out, I was doing herpes jokes. I was doing the most just crappy.
Oh, I had some really bad stuff, man.
Humor. I thought this was like some type of like, oh, I'm riding fire here. This is amazing. And when you get older, you realize the jokes you write can be funnier and more personal, and they don't have to be such gravitas to make laughs because. It could be like any crowd could just laugh. You could jingle keys in front of a crowd, and it could still get a laugh out of it.
Yeah.
So comics take themselves too hard on that. But yeah, this comic I knew that was a gatekeeper in Tacoma was like, and I said, a year does not seem a little rough, thinking she's maybe being playful.
Yeah.
And she replies back with, okay, 6 months then.
I don't know. I've never heard of this. I've never heard of this mic. That's pretty wild, but especially you, man. You've been doing this 11 years.
Listen, you always get people. It doesn't matter if you're doing this for 11 years or 1 year. It matters if you're funny.
Yeah.
And it matters who sees you. But for every gatekeeper out there, there are 6 other people who are openly wanting you to succeed, right? Some people are fine with, are fine with the basics, the bare minimum, the crumbs. Some people are like, you know what? I want to be a host for a local open mic for 4 to 6 years. Maybe I'll do showcases, and after that, I'll quit. But there's some people who are like me and others who are like, we foregone normal relationships, we foregone jobs, monetary shit that, well, we're never gonna get a picket fence. I'm never gonna get the house with the 401k and stuff. You forego that entire career of financial independence because you're thinking you have a voice and you're funny. So it doesn't bother me when there's gatekeepers. It doesn't bother me when people don't respond back to you. Because if you're really into this game, you're going to do this for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's a drop in the bucket. If you're going to let someone... Yeah, I'll say it. Screw it. J.C. Thompson, that's her name. J.C. Thompson was the person. She worked at Tacoma Comedy Club. And I still have the message. I saved it on my messenger. And... sometimes you can feel like you're being cute when you have power, but it doesn't help anyone. But some people are half comics
Yeah.
who just want the bare minimum. See, I don't want the bare minimum. I want to go so far in the sky that I can't see my feet anymore.
I just want an audience, man. I've had so little opportunities to have more than.
You're
like,
young.
yeah.
You're still into the game.
Yeah, but I'm older than you.
How old are you?
I'm 39.
I'm 34. I'm almost 34.
Yeah.
And
But then again, I got the house and I got the 401k and I got the kids, so
nothing should ever stop you from pursuit of what you're doing. If it's comedy, do comedy. If you want to play the guitar, see, we live in a society where they tell us don't do that. Do that until it's no longer safe. Well, that's fine, but what about your safety net? I don't have a safety net. I was never born with a safety net. Millions of people out there were never born with a safety net.
Oh yeah.
And
I feel more comfortable without one, to be honest with you. I like living at the bottom, I like my bank account to be almost empty. It feels better that way. So you first come here. You ever been to Seattle? What are your first impressions of this place?
First impressions of Seattle was that it was very...
Was that the first time you came here? It was just 2024?
2024. I moved here. I'm
just
starting here because it's a great place to meet people, get new connections. It's near California, near Denver, near Canada, so all the routes are there. So I was able to drive and do
it's
road comedy faster.
It's actually a really, really unique spot. I never thought about it until maybe a few months ago. I was just like, wow, Tacoma and Seattle are 2 major cities, and then north of Tacoma, you got Everett, which sometimes has showcases and bigger shows, and Berg Kreischer's coming to the arena there, and then
there's a lot of arena buildings here. Washington,
then casinos. There's a lot of casinos here too.
A lot of casinos in here, yeah. Casinos, every way you look, there's casinos around here.
Yeah,
it's a big casino area, big gambling.
But then the Canada thing, there's a guy, he co-owns one of the comedy clubs in Abbotsford. He's come down and he hangs out here sometimes. And then there's, Vancouver, bunch of stuff up there. And then Portland the other way. There's a guy from Portland that's coming up here too. So, it's...
Portland's a good town. When I first saw Seattle, I saw just nothing but just Dickensianism, just crime and just drug abuse. And I thought, oh, it's just like Florida. We're good.
Except colder.
The further you get, exactly.
Colder and wetter.
Exactly, but the further you get somewhere, the closer you get, Because I saw some guy just sleeping on a bench. I go, oh, just like in Tampa. Okay, this is not foreign for me. I was like, home sweet home.
Yeah. Man, so what about the comedy scene? Like when you first started, what was the first places you went?
So first places in Seattle, I went to, the first place I went to was the local 907.
Okay, nice. Renton, yeah, been there a few times.
That's a fantastic club. I enjoy that place.
It's a nice mic, but the last time I was there, again, I waited so long.
You got to understand, it's if you wait, you wait. There is
These 5-minute sets were like 7-minute sets.
Listen. In mics, you can't expect to go on right away. You can't expect a full crowd.
I had come from another mic previously, so I was already spoiled. I already had a good set. So
Comedians,
Yeah.
we cannot take anything for granted in this business because what we are doing is not a necessity. Clowning is not a necessity of our culture. We are bonuses. We're frosting on the cake. The cake is stuff that actually matters.
Yeah.
We're the added bonus because occasionally they want to see a clown. But we can't be like, oh, I didn't go on till like 19th. And by the way, everything I'm saying is something I've done in the past. As a younger comic, I've been like, welcome, I'm 15th. I have things to say. When my things to say are just as important as everyone else who have gotten there earlier.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure, man.
Some crowds are not going to be into you. Some crowds are going to be empty. You're going to perform for crowds of just family, friends, or like 4 or 5 people. But we don't do it. We do it for those 4 or 5 people. That's the thing.
Yeah.
As soon as people start expecting more than what they already have, and they want more than what's on their table and present it to them, then that's where the problem hits.
I got a problem.
Yeah.
I have a lot of problems. I don't know.
Comedy Club Seattle is a good. I performed there. I had a fun
Comedy?
time.
Did you mean club comedy?
Club comedy, yeah. Well, it was-
or comedy / bar.
So there's 2. There's
Yeah.
for listeners out there, we have like a
It's very confusing.
We have like an amazing a famous Raise situation where it's like we have Comedy Club Seattle. What is this Comedy Club Seattle / bar? So
yeah,
this is-
yeah, and comedy / bar was originally comedy bar, but then there's a comedy bar somewhere else, I think in Canada, that sent them a cease and desist. So now I think they kind of are calling themselves Capitol Hill Comedy Bar.
yeah. So it's called Capitol Hill Comedy Club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then Club Comedy, which it's
With-
a really great place, but what a bad name for like could you get more? There's nothing more generic than the Club like.
I think you're good. I think it's good because they got it first.
yeah,
Right? 'Cause
well,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
No one else got. It's kind of like you get the domain first.
Well, I was thinking about all the different clubs out there that have like Funny Bone.
There's the Funny
Side
Bone,
Splitters.
the yucks.
Yucks.
Is fun.
There's got to be like ha-has.
Ha-ha.
I think there's an LOL club in Texas
So
somewhere.
there is the LOL Club in Texas.
Yeah.
There is the Laugh Out Lounge in Winter Haven.
Yeah, the Laugh Factory.
There's a lot of ha-ha. and
Punchline is
hee-hee
in
names.
like Sacramento, San Francisco. They have
Mm-hmm.
the Punchline, and yeah, all these like these names. They're so creative. you know?
And for other people watching this who are thinking, oh, well, I don't want to drive this long to those clubs, or I just don't want to drive or go this far. You can always make your own comedy. You can always find a venue. You can always get people you like or near you and go, hey, I want to start a show. You don't have to wait for others.
Yeah.
In this game, there is no team. There is you. You may work with others, you may collaborate with others, but at the end of the day, it's your name on the marquee. So how you want to play it. You don't want to be living in someone else's dream. I've seen plenty of people who are working with others and go, I was doing stand-up comedy for a while, but then I started working on this podcast or this collab with someone else, and I just haven't been doing my own thing. But it's fine, 'cause we're doing this now. But this isn't what you wanted.
Yeah. Look at this guy, man. He's all these clip-worthy quotes here.
Oh, I'll give you another thing for everyone. Failure is normal. Put everything in separate baskets because failing is normal. Half a year ago, I had this big idea of I'm going to start my own podcast.
Yeah.
And I got the studio stuff down, and I got everything down, and it's going great. And then, literally, my second episode in, I literally say out loud, "Fuck, this is boring.
Yeah.
I don't like this."
Were you doing it by yourself?
I was doing it by myself.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I'm like, well, but others do it. I go, well, then this isn't for you, though. There are so many different outlets. You don't have to just pin yourself down. Ray Kampf does Dr. Phil impressions in California, and that's all he does. And we didn't have this many like Andrew Dice Clay personas. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
Like the type of just gimmick.
Larry the Cable Guy,
Just gimmick persona because we thought that we are lesser than that. We thought, we're better than Larry the Cable Guy. We don't need to see Get Her Done to get get gigs.
Carrot Top. I don't know.
Bro, everyone bashes on Carrot Tops, but does Carrot Top not sell out?
Oh, dude, guy.
Does Carrot Top not have a residency?
I would love to go to his show. In fact, I am going to Vegas. I think sometime later in the year, and if it was cheap, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to pay a ton of money, but
What you want to do is you want to get big enough where you can lease your names out to other showcases while having to be there.
Yeah.
The Ralphie May Comedy Classic still goes on in Vegas every September. Ralphie May has been dead for nearly half a decade.
Yeah.
So the fact that his name is still on there.
Yeah. Have you been to Tacoma Comedy Club? You've been?
Yes.
The thing that's so weird about that club is every picture inside is a picture of a dead person. It's literally just every comic that has died on the wall. Nobody that's alive. No Dave Chappelle. No Bill Burr. It's
always a memorial. It's kind of a memoriam.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Rodney Dangerfield. Cool. He's a legend. He's dead. Richard Pryor, legend. He's dead. Ron Williams, legend, dead. Chris Farley, dead. Greg Giraldo,
I'm kind of worried that my favorite comic is going to end up on that wall, and then I get home, and then they're dead, you know?
I mean, I don't know. There's something a little grim about it. And then they also have the dudes, the puppets from the Muppets. The guys, the
Muppets from the
the two old guys. The The guys that are always complaining about stuff. They have those guys there. So
well, those guys aren't really. Well, I was gonna say they're not dead, but they're not actually alive either. They're puppets.
Yeah, they're somewhere in between.
I was thinking about Muppets. What is Gonzo?
Yeah.
What is
his nose?
Everyone else is like an animal,
or
like
there's
some
pig,
type of
a frog,
a bear. Even some of them are kind of human-like.
Yeah. Once you go into
what is Gonzo?
Sesame Street, it's total. Then everybody's a different thing. But yeah, as far as the original Muppets, what is he? He's just like a.
He's just a.
Maybe he's an anteater. He's like with a little nose. I don't know.
He might be an anteater. Yeah. I was thinking about how Sesame Street's getting too real for me.
Yeah.
Like how Sesame Street is doing more like real cultural topics.
Well, they're on HBO now too, which is just a whole nother
roadie.
Yeah.
It used to be nice.
It used to be public broadcasting.
I saw this one thing of
not anymore, Doge.
Doge! Don't get me started.
Yeah.
If you ask someone 6 years ago what Doge was, it's that dog.
Yeah.
That dog with a scrunch face.
It's that coin.
And then now it's that thing that's making sure kids don't have schools.
Yeah. So besides Nick Cody, anybody else that you kind of, I wouldn't say friends with, but people that you know around Seattle that you like to watch, that kind of done some shows with or hanging out with? I mean,
I'll name drop a couple of people. Bruce Dettori.
Oh, Bruce. Yep. He just did a show last night with this guy Keegan. This could be here later. And
Bruce is a great guy. Bruce is a good guy because he's dedicated when every time he does a show, no matter where it is, no matter how small or how big, he always has his merch. He's always promoting.
Oh yeah.
Shirts sold by comics is the best merchandise ever. You don't need to upkeep it. You don't need to print it out. It's just, hey, who is that? Oh, that's someone I saw. And then they'll see you.
Yeah.
Bruce Cantori is good. There's just a bunch of comics that I'm.
It's hard to remember everybody. You've only been here for a little bit.
I've been only in here for a year and a half, and I'm also very, very shy and introverted when it comes to like social shit.
Yeah.
Except when it comes to comedy.
Yeah.
And when people see me, and I rarely interact, and you'll notice I rarely interact with other comedians at mics, not from a hostility aspect, but I'm just so locked in.
Yeah.
It's only until after my set I'm just like applauding and ready to go.
I totally feel it, man.
What else? Oh, Colin
Comaro.
Colin Comaro, very funny, very funny.
Lake Charles, Louisiana. I don't know. That's my best.
Who else?
Yeah, the guy. He's always at Club Comedy doing the door there.
I'm doing a roast battle with several comics in the area. Jojo
Blacko, yes.
Working with
Just
them.
saw them on Sunday.
Chris D. I'm working with them. Just several other dozen comics will be working in this.
So what do you think? Was this a good choice then to come out here? You like being out here?
10 out of 10.
Yeah?
You got to move out of your hometown eventually.
I agree. That's why
it's
I came here.
It's like that Day to Remember song. It's like, you got to...
Oh, I hate this town.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, before we get sued for the lyrics.
So anyways, man, before before we run out of, we still got a little bit of time.
Yeah.
The whole reason you wanted to come on here was because you said you wrote a book.
Yes,
So let's talk about it, man. You
Sure.
were a writer before you did comedy, and now you wrote a book.
Yep.
And it's a novel?
So it's a novel. It is a young adult book towards kind of like towards like 13 to 17, between the 13 and 17 bracket, but adults can still like it. It's kind of
You know how many adults love Harry Potter? Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
And Twilight and all that other stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
so my book is called Sprinkles Goldstein, Attorney at Law.
Sprinkles Goldstein,
Attorney at Law.
That sounds like, I feel like I got to play that character in a
I
TV
can
show.
actually do his voice if you want me to.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so Sprinkles Goldstein is, well, he's a candy attorney. He's a candy attorney. He used to work for a big candy company until 4 kids end up going missing. So he went in front of the Candy Congress and told everyone what was happening because, well, he smoked so many candy cigarettes, he thought he was never going to make it. Turns out his doctor, Dr. Goodbar, that moron, switched the lab results. He's not dying at all. Now he's burned so many bridges in the District of Candy, also known as D.C., and he doesn't know what to do next. While dodging loan sharks, his ex-wife, and a chicken that lays candy eggs, Sprinkles Goldstein has a quite of a predicament on his hands.
Dude, holy cow. That is a summary. And I feel like, give me if I'm wrong, is there like some double meaning behind this story here?
There is.
Can you apply the candy world to the real world if you wanted to?
You can apply the candy world to the real world. There is topics that are relatable to children, but they're also smart enough to understand it. Redlining is the act of when government funding and government spending is divided amongst a town, whereas one side of the town is more prosperous. The schools are better, library stuff, or other towns are less funded, so less schools, less libraries, less everything. Same thing in my district of Candy, but instead they call it candy striping instead of redlining because it's much cuter.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's gonna be there's topics, pollution. They're gonna, addiction, stuff that kids know about. We don't give kids too much credit.
Yeah.
They go through so much stuff every day. Like, back when we were kids, high school, Columbine was only like the one thing that happened. That was like a 1 every 6 year thing.
Yeah.
And now you're wondering, why are kids so jaded? Why are kids so, detached? Well, because every day they live in fear and they're kind of gaslit. They're told, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not smart enough to understand this.
Yeah.
Wait till you're older. Well, that's why I want to make a book for kids to be like, you know what? I am smart enough to understand this. We're not idiots. We know that the water that we drink is full of toxins. We know that the food is not healthy. Don't treat us like morons. But because it's a hard way to introduce that topic to kids, that's why you bring a candy-coated character.
Dude, I love that, man. That's so cool. That's what really got you into this whole idea,
So I did so Sprinkles Goldstein was a character I did at Fringe Festival. Fringe International Festival is a sketch comedy overall touring group. So I did 5 nights of just varying characters.
Okay.
One of those characters was Sprinkles Goldstein.
Yeah.
I had some other characters I did too. One was Ronnie James Jenkins, the only tent realtor in Tampa.
Oh, nice.
Marcius Pomelo, he is daycare / extreme sports model.
Nice.
Just random characters. And then everyone liked Sprinkles so much, I was like, I gotta make this into something bigger. And then I saw, on a sadder note, I saw that kids were going hungry. And they were cutting breakfast programs and stuff. And these kids were basically asking, like, why are we not getting fed and stuff? And the adults were telling them, hey, you'll get it when you're old. You understand when you're older. Kind of talking down to them. Mm-hmm. When kids face poverty, racism, sexism, classism, just like adults. But we don't ever bring it up. And when we do, we just smush it down or we say, oh, you're being obnoxious.
Yeah. So, my kid is 7, so she hasn't really brought a lot of that stuff up yet, but
Yeah,
I can
but-
just see myself being like not even wanting to
And also,
even deal
I'm not
with
gonna
it. You know?
I'm also on the parent side too. Parents aren't gonna want to answer every fucking question the kids ask them. Your kid sees something on television, he goes, "Hey, how come we don't go to church every day like them?" They're
Oh, it
like,
drives me crazy. Yeah.
So I get it. You can't answer everything, but at the same time, saying this is not happening, you're not experiencing this, isn't
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So if Sprinkles Goldstein can experience abject poverty in rural America, I'm sure kids can too.
Wow, dude. So is this the first like novel that you wrote all the way through?
Yeah,
Because you said
so-
you did screenplays and stuff.
I
when
did
you were
screenplays
younger.
before. I did some minor stuff. I wrote a movie that I starred in called That's My Time. Where
Oh.
it's a 4-minute independent film where a guy does stand-up comedy with a bomb collar strapped to his neck.
Oh man, is there anywhere we could see this?
Yes.
Is it online?
It is online. It's on my face. It's on my channel.
All right, we're gonna put a link in the description.
We will definitely do this.
I want to see that.
It was through shoestring budget. Everything was donated and filmed. We tried to do real Dogma style cinema where like everything that was given to us was donated, so we had no filming.
Oh, that
anything.
was that Dogma 95. That
We
I
tried
know.
to do as much Dogma 95 as we could in
Look at this,
movie.
man. This guy's saying things that nobody has brought up on this podcast that I thought I was alone in. You know, we're talking about handheld camera movements and stuff over here. You know.
Just basic, we
Yeah.
didn't even have cameras. We had cell phones. We
Yeah.
had flip phones that
Yeah.
we were just donated. But what got me fully into this writing thing was that I couldn't get into stand-up comedy. I couldn't do stand-up comedies I much to every chance. Comics will know this. You'll get burnt out. The road
Yeah.
is the road. So I had to do something on the off season. So every time I wasn't on stage, I would just be writing. And eventually, I just thought of this really good idea that combined Ava Brockovich with Willy Wonka. And that's what we have here now.
That's awesome, man. I feel exactly what you're saying. Like I've been in the last couple weeks just been feeling pretty tired. You know, I got a lot of personal stuff happening, and I got a dog that's like dying and all that kind
Aw.
of stuff. I'm like just kind of at this point where I'm like, I'm not happy with my material that much. I don't really know what to do, and so I think I might take a few weeks and just kind of just do something else. You know, like I
there's
used to be a
always up and down,
musician,
yeah.
so like I've been thinking about like bringing music into comedy, like not necessarily bringing a guitar on stage, but maybe writing a funny song because I've never done that. I've
There's always good. Tommy
Yeah.
Moon is a comic singer that sang in his bathtub during COVID for a video. I forgot the song. Hold on. Yeah, it was just nonsense song. He goes, I just feel like I'm a drowning encyclopedia. Stuff that doesn't make sense, but
Yeah.
it was funny and it worked. So music comedy is good.
Yeah, and it's a way to
Avenue. You're
Yeah.
gonna go. It's always moving. There's
Yeah.
no flat. I'm gonna do this material for the rest of my life unless you get into the Andrew Dice Clay type of like
character
where
routine,
that's your
you know?
thing.
Yeah,
Where you're typecasted.
yeah.
But good comedy is never truly typecasted. It is fluid. It is ever moving. Something that'll be funny, you know for a fact. Something that may be funny a week ago might not be funny a week later.
Yeah.
But if we keep holding on to those same old jokes, we won't grow. It's about growth.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people do a lot of the same stuff that they were doing when I started.
I never want to
you know?
do the same material at a mic more than once. If I do a set list, I will rip it up and then do a completely new set list next week. And I'll keep the jokes that are good for showcases or for 30-minute specials. But you never want to do the same stuff because, well, one, there's no crowd.
Yeah.
The comics have heard
Yeah.
you riff in the bathroom. And two, you're testing stuff out.
Yeah. No, I've been trying to do that a lot more. You know, there are jokes. Sometimes what I do is if I have something new, I'll start with an old joke to just kind of like warm myself up.
Right.
And just to kind of get in the rhythm. And then I'll try that. Because if I try to just go straight to the new thing, I feel like I come off as unsure, you know, and then the
The
audience
opener is the hardest thing for comics because
Yeah.
I've had shows where they were great, but they started out dog shit because my opener just didn't pan out.
Yeah.
I had an opener about the Oscars last week. The opener was that the joke was that whenever I would masturbate, I would think about past women I slept with, also known as thanking the Academy. Right?
That's pretty good.
But,
Yeah.
But people in the crowd, they don't watch the Oscars.
Yeah.
They're my age. They're like, why are you like Oscar?
Yeah. I've never watched that in my life.
Yeah, exactly. So they a couple seconds later they get it, but it's not a ha right away. And with comics now, you have to get right out the door and just
Yeah.
do as much stuff as you can.
Yeah.
I see a lot of comics do as many rapid fire jokes because they don't have enough time.
I've been guilty of that as well, especially those 3-minute mics, you know.
Noah, I'm gonna.
Noah Wen.
No,
yeah.
Noah Wen, yeah.
Yeah, he's been here a couple times, been on the
Noah Wen,
podcast.
another funny comic, really personal, really great personality.
Yeah.
He's also going to be at the roast. I really hope I get paired next to him, though. Oh my God, I'm so mean when I want to
Yeah.
be. I'm so mean when I want to be. Wink. But Noah, right guy, he has great one-liners. His one-liners are great because he will do a one-liner and then expound upon it when the crowd is laughing. So he won't just shovel it when it's done with.
You know, we had an interaction. I barely knew him one time, but I had this joke, and then he told me, hey, man, that's very similar to a joke that I tell.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, man, I'm so sorry. And it's been cool since, you know. But since he's not here, I'll just tell you my joke, and that was when I
Your original joke, you
yes,
say.
when I was a kid, I was a big fan of the X-Men. These days, they're called trans women.
So that's Noah's joke? Or that's
No,
your
that
joke?
was my joke.
Oh,
And
okay.
Then, then his is like some sort of. I feel like mine was told better, but his was the first one. So I was like, okay, well, you could have it. And then I don't think I've heard him say it since. Back to your book, man. What's the plan with the book?
All right, so
This is with a weave. I don't know, the Donald Trump weave, where he starts and goes back.
I love the. The other thing about Donald Trump is this. I notice his game is slipping because he's not doing as many quips as he used to.
Oh no, he's
He's not doing. 'Cause it used to be like they say, "Hey, Mr. President, why are these? The economy's bad." He goes, "You're bad. You're dumb. Bing bong bing," and the crowd laugh. But now he's like, "It's fine. Everything's fine." I go, he lost. It's like he doesn't want to do comedy anymore.
This is not a political podcast.
This is not a political podcast.
I'm not really big into politics, but I think that him and Elon are gonna fight at some point. Not fight, but they're just gonna have a falling out because Elon is definitely like when he's in the office and talking during an address to the nation. It's like, all right, Donald wants to be center spotlight. He doesn't want to share anything. And so, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
The reason why they don't house roosters in the same cage
Yes.
because two roosters
will peck each other.
Till one is left.
Yeah.
That's what we have right now.
Yeah.
They used to,
Maybe that was the plan.
Maybe that was a plan. 8 years ago, excuse me, I forgot. 8 years ago, we had like generalized evil that worked.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, okay, there's a lot of evil stuff going on, but it's still functioning, right? Like, yeah, it's dirty stuff, but the trains still run on time. Now the trains aren't even arriving. Yeah, now it's like, oh, well, nothing's happening at all. Oh, Sprinkles Goldstein. The plan.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, when the world is going dark and things are bad, we use our creativity to put out good in the world.
Exactly.
So you're putting out this book. What's the plan for the book? Are you going to self-publish it? Are you sending it out to places?
We are looking for publishers. The plan is either self-publish by Christmas 2025 or local Washington publishing by spring 2026. The merchandise and everything will probably come out after. We have some cool plushies we're going to sell.
Oh, nice.
We being the royal we, is someone else working on
Yeah.
this besides myself, my typewriter.
The corporation will be putting it together.
I would love if people read this book and then they felt like they were living in the District of Candy.
Well, it sounds like it's very relevant to some of the stuff we're going through today, and it's a very unique kind of original take. on a new thing. I mean, you could. Who knows? This could be the next. This could be the next, Harry Potter.
I was
This could be
joking.
the
I'm
next,
like, first
Murder,
thing I do
She Wrote.
I was gonna say the first thing I do is Harry Potter. I was like, I gotta do what other youth authors do when they completely slam trans people as soon as I get famous.
Yeah, exactly.
As soon as that the $1 million check comes in, your times are numbered, LBG.
Yeah.
No. I'm not gonna lose my cool when the money comes in.
Yeah.
But no. If one person reads this and goes, you know what? I live in Taffy Land, and I also have to take 3 buses to get to my job because I can't afford a car.
Yeah.
That gets me. That'll be good.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, I definitely applaud you for doing that. That's a lot of work, especially now it's like, who knows what's going to happen with writers and AI and all that? Like, because younger kids, they're not as creative. They just don't.
No.
They have all the devices. My daughter's very creative, but she's a whole different thing.
Right, but I feel like, your generation, though, wise, your daughter's generation era is cooked because they grew up, not your daughter, of course, but your daughter,
She's cooked in a different way.
They cooked in a different way.
ADHD.
Brush.
Severe.
Truth that.
Yeah.
Kids grew up with iPads. They grew up with chat, GPT. They grew up with just a plethora of technology where you just type something in and you get as many possibilities as you want. Where we grew up, if we want to know a basketball player's name, we had to go on their freaking, Sports Illustrated and check him out.
Yeah, a lot of times you just didn't even know.
You didn't
even know the name,
Like sometimes, my uncle didn't know who Allison Janney was until someone told him 5 years later. He just was like that chick from Breakfast Club. He had no idea what her name was. He just and it was but now it's just like who is the president of Venezuela, and they're like, oh, boom, beam, it's Johnny Utah.
Remember, you used to remember people's phone numbers and all that kind of stuff. So let's see where we at here. Oh, nice. We are an hour.
An hour.
Well, shoot, man.
Want to pull this turkey out the oven?
No, we still got a couple more minutes. So you've been in Seattle. You like being here. What's the big plan? Other than the book, which is awesome. Do you have any comedy plans for the years?
Yes.
You've done so much, but now you're in a new place.
You've done so much. You got to keep doing. You never stop, really. Mm-hmm. This is never going to be okay, now I do Seattle and now I call it quits. You never call it quits because true, I don't want to say true, but the dedication I have is all or nothing. I put everything into this. That's why I take the bus everywhere, because instead of spending money for a car, I use that instead so I can take plane rides to shows. It all builds up. It all adds up. The plan for comedy is to just keep doing it until they outlaw free speech.
Yeah.
So any minute now.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to seeing
Thank you. I have some shows I want to plug.
I was gonna be on the roast thing. I'm just not sure if I'm gonna do it yet because
You should.
I've been having some.
There's still names.
I've been having some second thoughts about maybe. I don't know. I think it might take a little break, but we'll see. But yeah, you got some shows. So tell what shows you got coming up.
Okay, Okies. So April 12th, I will be doing the roast battle at Peace of Mind Brewery.
That's in Linwood, put on by Nick Cody. And Tapped Out Comedy. That's like their 18th, 19th show, I think.
Always a good time at Tapped Out Comedy.
Nick is my first guy that I was friends with in comedy.
Nick Cody, great guy.
I watched him before I ever did comedy and talked to him, and he was very nice to me, and he really helped me out, pushed me into it.
He's a good guy. Genuinely, he's a good guy.
Always love for Nick, even though he's like, why are you always talking about me on your podcast?
Yeah.
Like, why not, Nick?
Enjoy to love, stupid. God.
Yeah. This is free press.
No one talks about me on their podcast.
Yeah.
All they say is dirty things. Anyway, May 19th, LAF, first time performing there.
Laugh Tech. Nice. You're doing one of the Laugh Tech shows. Yeah, I've never done one of those, so.
That's going to be fun. And then
I'm curious to see who's on it. I'm always like to see the local.
And then June, we taking a small break. We're going to focus more on the book.
Nice, yeah.
We'll probably do some promotions for the book, a little bit of press tour maybe for that. And then July 9th through the 11th, I'll be opening for some New Yorkers at the Jewel Box Theater.
Oh, nice. Over there in Seattle.
Yep,
I think it's
at the
Rendezvous.
Rendezvous. Yep,
Yeah,
the
cool,
classic
cool.
Rendezvous. And you'll also see me around Seattle, Washington, just kind of gooning it up.
Yes. Cool, man. That's awesome. Well, shoot.
Follow me on my
Yeah.
socials, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. It's all the same thing. One word, Lucas is a comic.
Lucas is a comic.
Lucas.
Lucas.
Yep, is a comic. Check
If you
out
spell your name with a K, you
Nah, I
got
wish.
a problem.
Ah.
We don't like you.
Prince Sprinkles Goldstein, Candy Attorney at Law, will be on shelves probably later next year.
Yeah.
Early releases
And
will be
hopefully
Christmas.
the audiobook comes out in 2026.
We will be doing an audiobook. I will be doing all the character voices for the audiobook.
Nice. That'd be awesome, man. That's exciting. Well, yeah, man. Once we get closer to the actual release, let's get back on the show.
I will be happy to be a guest on the show,
Yeah.
and I'll be happy to give you a copy of the book too.
Oh, I appreciate it.
And maybe your daughter would like Sprinkles Goldstein too. Maybe. Who
Yeah,
knows?
well, maybe, we'll see.
Who knows?
She's so whatever. But yeah, Lucas is, again,
Lucas is a comic.
Lucas is a comic, and at Stephen MJ Comedy, you can follow us, and you can see this guy all around, and hopefully, I don't know. It's
Pleasure to be here.
I just gotta say, I was feeling pretty shitty.
yeah.
And then we sat down, and I'm feeling pretty good, man. So
Yay!
thanks again for
Fantastic to
cheering me
hear.
up. This has been a good convo,
Yeah,
and I
man.
look forward to seeing you do some comedy.
Comics helping comics, man. That's the name of the game.
Comics helping comics.
Comics
All
helping.
right.
Let's end on that note.
All right. Well, thanks to this guy, and
Comics helping comics.
that's it.
Comedy Simp, the podcast you can't resist. Stephen Michael James, the host you won't wanna miss. From Seattle to the world, his humor will persist. Join the fun, get ready to enlist. Spitting fire.